Hey you guys, you guessed it, today we are drawing some mouths, and as you can see there are a lot of different types of lips and mouths out there, so today we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to be learning along with you with this one. So we're going to study a little bit of the shape of the lips, kind of how to draw them largely in profile, but we'll also study some not in profile as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to set this off to the side so I can look at it, and hopefully I can instruct you a little bit along the way. So let's start with a profile view. So one, I think we covered this in the nose, but if you have your nose right here, one common mistake is to think that the lips continue this curve of the nose and keep going backwards, but you actually have a small round there, and then it'll actually shift direction. It'll come back this way. And then the upper lip curves down. If you want to reach up and feel your own lip to kind of feel what it feels like as it curves into your mouth, it'll look weird if somebody's watching you, but it's not a bad thing to do. And then usually the bottom lip will be right about, it'll come out about as much as the top lip. So every once in a while that's not true. And it'll actually follow largely the same shape. See how this comes to kind of a point and then in? This one's going to do the same thing on the bottom. And then it's going to dive in a little bit here, come out to the chin and end. So it's all well and good for a profile, but you still need to shade, right? And so another thing that a lot of people will do is like then extend this all the way up and do like a big smile there, which if we do that really quick, let me grab a pencil, you'll see it's kind of weird. Although it looks like convincing, it's not because it's correct, it's just because we understand what's happening. So when you're looking at the side, your mouth actually doesn't extend that far into your cheek. That's like Joker status. And so it's going to extend in a little ways, but what's going to happen is your lips are just going to have a nice gentle curve down to there, and then your bottom lip will come up to meet them. Your top lip will always be shaded a little bit darker. Well, not always, I guess, because light is usually coming from above, and so you'll typically, shaking a little bit, you'll typically get a brighter bottom lip and a darker top lip. And then go ahead and shade underneath that bottom lip again, because again, if your light's coming from down here, you're going to get a shadow cast in on this top lip and underneath that bottom lip. Another thing to pay attention to is right along here where the lips come together is always going to be a little bit darker. That's true of most objects in nature, is two things that come close to each other will have some kind of shadow interaction, because light is definitely not coming from all directions at all times. So you always get some shadow there. And one thing to remember is our lips aren't perfect. There's usually cracks and dots. So go ahead and add a couple of those in. And we're running out of time here, so I do want to do one front view. So this is usually where lips are kind of baffling to me. But I always start with a little bit of like a center line and then trying to figure out the two edges of my mouth. So if this is where it's going to go, I usually start with a little dip here at the top, not too aggressive, but it varies from person to person. And then you generally get this little slope outward with a little turn up at the end. That at the end will change depending on whether you're smiling or frowning, but generally it'll turn up just a little bit. And then another thing, you're going to get the opposite shape, but a little bit more flat down beneath. And then you're going to want to curl up and meet on that side. So you can see my first line, my starting line, my center line, wasn't very center. The lip should actually stop more like right around there to actually be center. And then you can kind of decide if you want somebody's top lip to be bigger, you can drop this division down lower. If you want the bottom lip to be a little bit larger, then you can push it up. But largely you're just going to have a nice slit here. And it looks crazy now, but add in the shadow and it's not going to look so crazy. So like I said, the top lip generally has a lot more shadow on it. Your bottom lip is going to be a lot more bright, but make sure you get right here around where they crease a lot better. Usually you'll have a little bit more shadowing on either side of this little, I actually should figure out what that's called, that little front of your lip that kind of hangs down. You'll have some shadows right there. And go ahead, like I said, lips aren't consistent or perfect, so you'll have some marks here and there, some inconsistent shadows going on. So go ahead and mark some of those up, add a little bit of shadow to this bottom lip, and you should be good. These look kind of weird just floating here, so I'm actually going to add just a little bit more, just to hopefully make it look a little bit more normal. There we go. Once we get the nose in there, it looks a little bit more natural, as you can see. All right, and that is, oh my goodness, we've reached 6 minutes. I apologize. These are I can't talk right now. These are just supposed to be 5 minutes, but hopefully you learned something. Go ahead and practice some mouths. I can't stress enough looking at reference. If you have to, go look at a mirror and see how your lips change when you smile, when you frown, and go ahead and practice some expressions. You got this, and go ahead